Hello and welcome back, or welcome for the first time, to the Quality Coding stream, where you get to watch me fiddle with code for roughly an hour. Hey Mudchuck, always good to have you. And for those, as we wait, well, I'm not really waiting, but folks will filter in later. But even more people watch this like after the fact on both Twitch and YouTube. And so I want to say up front, hey, give it a like, a follow, a subscribe, ring the bell notification, whatever it takes to train the algorithm so that I keep showing up. Because if you don't like what I do, you can always change your mind, and set it back however you like it. Let's see. Today, so my plan today is to keep going with the FizzBuzz. Last time we had some fun. Had fun a couple times now, but this time I thought it would be good to lean into the actual implementation, not the testing side of things. We may as well get started and see if other folks come. Real quick, I work, my name is John Reed, and I am a coach and a trainer at Industrial Logic. I forgot to say that part. And Industrial Logic is a consultancy. This might resonate with you, this part right here. We get it. Everyone's agile these days. Yet there's very little agility. We can help with that. That is what we do. So that's just a quick thing about my job and the amazing people I work with. One more thing I wanted to mention is approval tests, which folks who have watched me in these live sessions have seen some approval tests. And I just want to bring it, make folks more aware of it, as it is the most important testing tool I've written since OC Makito and OC Hamcrest. And since I'm not doing OC, Objective-C, much these days, I'm very happy to have a new tool that's Swift-oriented and that is very much very powerful, but folks don't know about it. And so go check it out. I've got a YouTube playlist with these fairly short videos. So go check that out. All right. Mudshark, where is everyone today? I don't know. Last time we had like, there were a lot of people here. Like the chat was keeping me busy. I don't know. Anyway, we'll keep going, won't we? For folks who are watching afterwards. But if you are watching afterwards, it's more fun if you join live so that you can participate. FizzBuzz. FizzBuzz is obviously not complete. Before we start playing with it, we should really finish it. And we've got the fairly standard tests. They're crying out for parameterized tests, but I'm not going to do that this time. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10. So we're missing FizzBuzz itself, multiples of both 3 and 5. So let's do that real quick before we start playing with the implementation. And once again, I am doing this with TCR. And this time, not going to spend, I'm just continuing so you don't have to watch me fiddle with the project setup. So TCR, if I cause something to fail, actually, well, yeah, that's good enough. If I cause something to fail, boop, it gets reverted. Test and commit or revert. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. So let's do another. Let's start FizzBuzz, multiples of both 5 and 3. Test 15. And I want to lock down as a safety that much. So you see, boop, the green bar went away, so that shows it got committed. And let me try to remember how we do this. What the order was. Basically, I can't do normal test-driven development where I have a failing test because it'll get reverted. With TCR, we have to kind of flip it around and we have to keep it green and then make the test fail to confirm the test. So I think what I want to do is put down the current behavior. That's what I'll do. So for 15, I think it will say fizz right now. Let's see if that's true. Apparently that's true. And we really want it to say FizzBuzz, but so that's the next part. That's what we have to get to. So here we go. If value is 15, I'm going to return. Oops. I forgot. I should return fizz. Let me try again. If value is 15, return fizz. That's obviously not what we want. We want it to go to FizzBuzz. So I'll change it here and here. Good. And then I'll break it by reverting, by undoing that bit, and it should pop right back. Good. And we've got someone else has come by. Hey, say hello in the chat. Even if you're visiting, even if you're just observing, and if you have any questions, feel free. And the questions can be completely unrelated to whatever we're doing on the screen. So the next one is 30. "30" will also be fizz, I believe. Yeah. And so to make it FizzBuzz, I'll say, hey, Hamza. Oh, good to have you back. Welcome. We say value equals 30, and this time it's going to FizzBuzz, so I'm going to change this to FizzBuzz. And that should commit. Great. Now I can refactor and say value is multiple of, I can say this, and it's not expensive. Not or, and. There we go. There's a naive, well, it's not naive. It's perfectly fine implementation of FizzBuzz, right? This is as far as my interviews usually go. And I will say, okay, now write some tests around it, which just to see if people can write tests. So here's the problem, or here's not the problem. The code, there's nothing wrong with the code, but it is very inflexible. And what I wanted to do, want to play with, is what would it look like to have an object-oriented solution to this? Is there a way we can play with it where it's more flexible? When I've done this, I often have used FizzBuzz in my TDD workshops that I've taught solo before joining Industrial Logic. Now I would teach test-driven development in a different way because I've learned from IL some better ways of teaching. But in my workshops, what I would do is we would TDD this far. And then I would say, great, the code is a hit, the app is a hit, and the company has released this much for free, but they want to now monetize. I love that word. No, I don't love that word. They want to make money from people buying custom rules. For example, multiples of 7 should be bang or something like that. And so, and there are different ways to work with this, but let's not think about customization yet. I want to think about objects. Object-oriented programming, for the most part, most OO code, most code that folks write isn't very object-oriented. It ends up looking like this. If do this, if this something do this, if some other thing do this, you see switch statements, all sorts of stuff. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not flexible. It's hard to maintain. And I am here for code that is easy to maintain. So let's start playing. What I am envisioning is a set of rules, or like it should just loop over this thing. And the first one that says, oh, I know how to deal with this particular value, should get first crack in sort of a chain of responsibility or something like that. So I'm going to borrow from some ideas from Quinn Gill, who wrote about micro objects in FizzBuzz. If you can look it up, his name, Quinn, I'll just type it here. Quinn Gill. So you can look him up and look up what he writes about micro objects. Good stuff. Let's start playing. I mean, how to get there, and how to get there in small steps is going to be the challenge. Like, is there a way I can just replace? Maybe I don't worry. It's okay. We tend to read things top down, but it's often easier to refactor things the other way. It's sometimes easier. If something is deeply nested, it's often easier to deal with the deeply nested part and pull it out. And when things are in a sequence, sometimes it's easier to deal with the last thing. So my eye is drawn to this. What I'd like to do is create a new object that can deal with converting an integer to a string. Let's go. Let's just start. And I think in order to avoid flipping around between files, I'm going to keep it all inside of here. So let's say we have a struct input as string, something like that. And it is going to take this value. In fact, maybe let me try this instead. Let me see if I can't do it in place and do a caller create where I'll let app code create stuff for me. Oh, the problem is I can't break things. Oh, this is going to be tricky. How about if I do it after the return? Input as string. Something like that. Oh, but it needs to take the value for this one. Something like that. This isn't quite right. That's okay. You know, it's giving me the option to make it a nested struct. I have never liked nested structs or nested functions, even though you can do them in Swift. How about you? Hey, there are more folks here. A few more. Say hello, even if you're stopping by. I don't like nested functions. You can do them in Swift. I don't know if that's a bias. Yeah, and I feel like if they're nested, it's harder to play with the pieces and shuffle them around. So let's create it inside of here as a struct. Takes the value. This might not be right. That's okay, but we're just trying to get somewhere. In fact, will this won't even build yet because it needs to supply the answer. Build failed. Oh, answer needs to be string. All right. This is interesting. It's working so far only because, and you can see I have a warning here. I've got this return and then I'm doing this other return. But it's because I'm using TCR. I don't want to lose it. And I kind of want to, eventually I want to like get rid of this. But that comes back right now. The answer, let's say, is going to be not a static property, but a string that returns, well, let's get that value in here. Here, now we can copy and paste this bit and stick it in here. And now I think I should be able to eliminate this line. Okay. So this may not be perfect. It may even not be quite what I want. In fact, I don't think it is, but it's a start. It's a start. Because I think one thing that's wrong with it is I shouldn't instantiate the input as string with the value, because input as string should just take many values, not a single value. So that's wrong. Let me see if I can't reshape that. What would that look like? I think it would look like creating one, and then how about like that? Answer for value. Let's just see if this is any better. This is going to complain. Nope, I don't want that. Let's create this. Here, I'll borrow this. We're going to get rid of that property. In fact, we don't even need this anymore. All this goes away. Answer for value. Okay, that's stuck around. The fact that it didn't, like I ran tests and then it wasn't reverted, means it worked. I can make this even smaller. How's this? Better. It's got this useless in it. Answer for value. We'll see how this goes. This is interesting and curious and fun. Because essentially I want another one here, except this one is unconditional. It's just like, I'm going to take input as string and bloop, there it is. It's not very interesting at all so far. What will be interesting is if I create another one that's like the buzzer, and it is able to determine, do I even handle this? Let's start with that. If how to do this again. Here, let's create it in here. Buzzer equals buzzer. I don't know. This is going to be another struct. And that should be okay because it doesn't do anything. And here I want to ask, hey, buzzer, do you handle this? If buzzer handles value, trying to move in small steps. So let's implement handles. And this is just going to return false right now. Okay, it's sticking around. So if it handles the value, it should return buzz. So it should return the buzzer answer or something. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, and I'm not liking it so much, but let's start there. Just to keep them the same. We'll see. We'll see. So let's implement this. And this is buzz. Right? And now, if I say, let's take this value is multiple of 5. And let's drop that into our predicate here, handles. Because now it should switch over and it should start using the buzzer, which means I should be able to get rid of these 3 lines. Okay. So far, so good. How to unify these? Maybe it's okay that the answer for value ignores the value. Maybe that's okay. But I do want handles up in here. And this should always be true. The input as string, does it handle any value? Yes. Yep. Hey, you're right there with me. Right? So now this is what I'm using, and what you're seeing sort of trickle out, and Mudshark's on the same track, is to take things that are similar and make them, like, give them the same shape. So a common API is starting to form here, because now I should be able to extract this and say, if input as string handles value, then return that. Otherwise, oops. Otherwise, otherwise return something bad. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm reshaping these. In fact, you can see it better if I move these up and you look at these 2 blocks. They're starting to have the same shape. If buzzer handles value, return buzzer answer for value. So I think what we want now is to extract a protocol for this. In fact, let me, I was going to like copy and paste, but afraid of breaking, like if I do anything weird, anything wrong, TCR will just revert it. Oops, sorry about that. TCR will just revert it. And so, what to call this? A value game. Answer. Answerer. I'm not sure. Let's run tests so that comes into play. And then we want let me just take this whole line and remove that. And take this whole line and remove that. Yeah, we're gonna need a thing, but first let's say this is an answer, and this is also an answer. Whoops. Great, and now we can see app code shows us that this has at least one implementer, and here it shows that these are implementing something higher up. because now I think let's just leave the other rules there. But if I have an idea. Let me combine these into, I'm not even sure what to call them. If you're not sure, you can always start with applesauce. And I don't want this to be of type any, I want it to be of type answer. There. And that should still be okay. Because then I should be able to take for apple and applesauce. Oh man. And just copy this. Right? The names are silly, but I think that eliminates these lines here. Great. Naming. Got any good ideas for naming? What to call this? It's an answer. Maybe it's just an answer. Rules. Rule? Rule's better. I like rule. And this will be, let's see if I can do this in one shot. Okay, good. That's much better. And now we can inline these. So let me take this and inline it here. And take this and inline it here. Then I can get rid of these lines. Hey, we are on the way. How do these feel as objects? Notice that I'm using objects, but these aren't classes. That's okay. They're very small. Input as string handles this. Answer for I wish that I didn't have to pass in the value, same value twice. It especially worries me here, where it's like this is definitely truth for some value, but then you could pass in presumably something that's not a multiple of 5 and it will still answer buzz, and that worries me a little because there's now a implicit coupling and I'd like to make it explicit. How about have answer return a string or nil? Maybe. Let me try that. How to get there in steps. And hello, Garbob. Good to have you by. you can get rid of handle blah. Yeah. That could well be. Let's try it. Let's try it. That does feel better. I think to get there, I'm going to create another I'm just naming it answer 2 for now so that I don't break anything. Right? And the idea is that if it does, I wish it didn't have the if in here, but that's okay. Like this, right? We'll discover the shapes as we go. Some other shapes might emerge out of this pattern here. We'll find out, but I think this is a good step. Is there a way I can test it without... Oh, I started on the wrong one, really. I should have done it on the in the last one, but that's okay. Let me just copy this, paste it here, and this one is unconditional. So I should now be able to have answer 2 like that. And now, drum roll. If like this. Let's try it. You'll see here, this is how we can see changed lines. Xcode does something similar with a little blue strip, and it should disappear. All right. Okay, this is a great step. So I can get rid of this now. It's not used. Heck, I can get rid of handles. Get rid of these. This is becoming smaller. Rename. No, wrong one. Is it this? Wait. Oh, it's asking me. Sorry. I'm not used to that pop-up. Let me do this again. Slow down. Refactor the base declaration or only the current one? The base one. All right. So input as string is now very, very nice. Answer for value, bloop. Buzzer is now less nice. It's got this conditional logic in here, but we can extract that. However, I think since input as string and buzzer are very different, I think it's now time to start. Yeah, isn't deleting code awesome? Hey, S'mores, welcome back. I think it's time to bring in Fizzer, don't you think? Because it'll be similar to this, and then we'll have duplicate code, and then we'll refactor it. Let's do that. So let's make a Fizzer. In fact, it's gonna be just like Buzzer, except with a few different things. All right, I'm feeling a little more free here to just reach in and make several changes and hope. This squiggly line is just a typo. I don't need to worry about that. So now I should be able to get rid of this. Aha. All right. Now, whoops. Now let's have a look. Now we've got duplicate code. And this feels like maybe it needs a conditional answer. Let's start extracting. So this will be handles value, like that. Let's do the same thing here. Handles. If handles value now these two are very similar except for their answers. So let's extract this. Whoops. Like that. This is one of the things about refactoring is I'm sort of seeing shapes emerge, but to get there in steps, often before it comes together, it involves making a little bit of a mess. So this is definitely, in some respects, more complicated. That's because I'm teasing things out in order to make this, in fact, we should be able to see if I collapse these, we should see that these answers are now identical. Look at that. That's what I wanted. I wanted them to be the same. So how to handle this? This is where it would be nice to have an abstract base class, but no such thing exists in Swift. I may need to make these into classes so that I can do subclassing. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's start down that road by making it a class. Make sure it's still happy. This one also. Because I should be able to extract now a superclass called conditional answerer. Okay, let me get the book. At this point, the steps are escaping me. The book. Extract superclass. 375. I go to 375 to find the steps. 375. Extract superclass mechanics. Create an empty superclass. Make the original its subclasses. And then, okay, let's start there. So let's create a class that is a, what did I say? Conditional answer. And it should really conform to this. I think it should. Right, because now these can go in here. Right. So there's the implementation of conditional answer, but it's got a problem. I didn't define it as I'm veering off of the mechanics a little bit. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I want to implement this. And this. Let me swap them there. That much should be fine because it's not in use yet. In fact, you know, I can check this out. No, I can't make it static to try it. Let me now make these not private so that they can be overridden. And now let's make this fizzer a conditional answer. And change these to overrides. Oh, it can't be. I thought I changed this to a class already. Hey, it's stuck. Same thing here. Oh, that's much better. Aha. Right, I'll pop these open so you can see them. In fact, they're so short that I think it'll go better to just see them together like that. Just to see how small these objects are. This one is also short. This one is interesting. So this is how you do an abstract base class in a language that doesn't provide abstract base classes. You make something in Smalltalk. If I'm remembering correctly, this is how it worked, is that you would say, this is the subclass responsibility. In fact, let me just use that here. This is, obviously I can't type. Let me fix that. There. This is better than has not been implemented. This is much clearer that it is the duty of the subclass, the responsibility of the subclass to override this and this. Hey, this is fun. I'm digging this. So FizzBuzz is also a conditional answer. Let's make it. A fizzer buzzer. And a fizzer buzzer is going to be just like this, except with a few differences. This is going to return FizzBuzz, and this is going to be a multiple of 15. This should pass. And now we should be able to get rid of this. Oh, yeah. Woo! Check this out. So we have a sequence of rules. Answerers? Maybe they should be rules. Yeah, let me rename this. Rule. We have a rule. This should be a conditional rule. Hey, this is sweet. Isn't this cool? I mean, I think it's cool. Because look at how we've implemented FizzBuzz. Okay, I can collapse this. There, you can see here is the parts inside of FizzBuzz in these micro objects. Look at how small they are. I'm just digging it. I love it. And we've extracted these two ideas. One is a rule protocol, and the other is this abstract base class of a conditional rule. As it says, well, I can answer, but first, in order to answer, I need to know, do I handle it? And let me return the answer. I'm now wondering if it makes sense to collapse the handling of value instead of returning an optional. But maybe not. Because value is now guaranteed. But probably not. That's sort of a weird edge, and this is nicely contained. It's not that difficult to understand. So, and then FizzBuzz itself. We could create it and say, let's play FizzBuzz with some different rules. We could, let's maybe pass in these rules. Let's try this. One more thing I'm seeing as a possibility to explore in the time we have left is to pass these in so that FizzBuzz is just like, give me whatever rules. I'm not really FizzBuzz. I'm counting. Can you move the rules out of the function? Yep. That's what the idea is. So what I want to do is I want to pass them in. Actually, just start. Oh, I see. Just do this first. That's already better. There we go. And then, actually, that alone is much better. Right? Yeah. I can add an initializer at this point, or I can say these are the defaults. For example, it could be, you want different rules? Well, I'm going to start with some defaults, but you can change them. Like that. Okay. I Yeah. Yeah. So to add new rules, let's try it. And I think to try it, I might want to turn off TCR. Just to play with it a little differently. Or maybe not. maybe I can say, okay, there's no FizzBuzz extracted. That's okay. That's good. How about a new test? Let's try something. Play with rules or change rules. So if we say, make me a FizzBuzz, and then I can say, hey, well, I want to change the rules. Now, you can argue whether or not you want this in an initializer. Maybe it makes more sense in an initializer. And the initializer could have defaults, can't it? However, you might want to say, take the existing rules and append something. Game. Is it like, oh, these are just ghost errors. I hope AppCode fixes that soon. I reported the bug. Right, so I should be able to append or change the order of things. And something like that. But let's try replacing it. Like let's say, let's just take, say, the rules are just going to be, I'm going to wipe them out and just take input as string. Let's try this without assertion. Hello, how did you learn to code, and can you please give tips? Well, that's sort of what I'm doing now, is giving tips in a way, but, you know, to learn anything, you need to try something and make mistakes. But it's not enough to make mistakes. What you need is quick feedback. The ideal learning scenario is where you try something and you can immediately see, did it work or not? And that's why working in a system like a Swift Playground, or when I was a kid, it was BASIC, the basic programming language, where I could just say, you know, print hello John, and see if I run that, does it say hello John? It does. And then I could say, okay, now let's say hello John 10 times. You know, can I experiment with loops and conditionals? And so get quick feedback. You can do this in a few different ways. One is just in a system where you type stuff and you see the results right away. And these are available in a variety of languages. The other is to have let's see if I can find it. What am I thinking of? Coding Dojo. Hang on a second. See if I have this right. No, that's not it. Cyber Dojo. I'd love to code and code for a living, but I see the space is getting too congested and it is becoming hard to get a job. The demand is still very high and still outpaces the supply. This is causing problems in that people come in without a whole lot of skills and they get hired without experts around them or more skilled people around them who can help guide and mentor those people. But um, but I'd say it is still strong. So if you want to code for a living, um, I think there's still room, still plenty of room. Cyber Dojo is an interesting place where you can get feedback on your code. Here, I'll post this. From automated tests. Because you can basically run the tests. Hey, 16 and still have to go to college. I do encourage you to go to college. There's no reason you can't start to code professionally now. It just might not be for, like, a software company, but there are folks around you who need a coder. There's someone around you who will pay you to code. When I was in high school, ancient. I mean, look at this. A guy who was 1 year younger than I was wrote the school's grading system. From what you call it, the cards that you pencil in on. There's a word for those. So anyway, he as a high schooler, he wrote the system that the high school used. There are needs around you. Will it get 2-packed in 6 or 7 years? I doubt it. But you can certainly explore other things. 6 years of training, 1 hour a day. That's about 2,000 hours. Nice way to put it, Mudshark. It is definitely, any skill comes from repetition and feedback. Try something and feedback. If you don't have the feedback, that is, if you don't have somebody saying, wow, your code works, but it's not great, then you will continue to write bad code. So find ways to get the feedback. Cyber Dojo might be a place to play. All right, I'm going to get back here. Thank you for jumping in. I really appreciate the questions. That's great. And don't stop now. But I want to kind of continue here. If we do, good for you for thinking of how to stand out. I would also encourage you. Here's a thing that is lacking in programming education, and that is the stuff that's outside of the code. If you can learn how to work in a team, if you can learn how to communicate, how to write well, how to express yourself well, if you get exposure to humanities and become a rounded person who's not just a coder, but you have other things that you're like, hey, yeah, I've learned about how humans have different ways of thinking depending on whether they're stressed out or whether they're relaxed. And this person is clearly stressed out right now, so I need to, we can't give this kind of reply to their request because it's freaking them out. Stuff like that. All the human side is where the so-called soft skills are hard skills, and those are good to learn. They will help you stand out, even if all you do is code, which, who knows, you could code in just about any field nowadays. So here, I'm going to just assume that the answer is going to be 30. Let's try this. Whoops, it didn't work. That's because I wasn't using the game. Let's try this again. No? Why didn't it work? Oh, I thought for sure that it would apply the rules in evaluate, I am puzzled as heck. I am really puzzled. Oh, I didn't change 30. This is what I wanted. I kept copying and pasting the right thing. This is there. I've worked for a lot of companies, a lot of big names. Let me tell you, the big names are not necessarily great places to work. And I'm having my best job now working at a 30-person company. So there it is. I was just entering stuff too fast. And there is proof now that I was able to change the rules and say, you know what? The rule is only input as string, and now you could provide something else. Do we want to use this as an initializer? We can. However, I feel like my time, I don't want to overplay my hand here. You could say, you know, create the game and keep the rules fixed. Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. A few more minutes. We're so close. They are not always better. Fang, or now called the manga, right? Because of meta. So let's make this, let's now change this to use an initializer. Here we go. So I'm going to make an initializer that passes in the rules. Whoops. Do it again. Maybe I didn't select it. There we go. All right. Except I also want this as the default. Like that. Good. Now I should be able to say FizzBuzz rules like that. Better. And now I can make these private let to hide them entirely. No? Oh. What the heck? Oh, it's because I'm setting the values here. Do this again. There we go. I'm looking phase on top. I'm looking at your last thing about smart people. There are plenty of smart people at those companies, but smarts is not the same thing as wise, and smarts is not the same thing as caring, and smarts is not the same thing as being able to distinguish your fantasy of we're going to change the world from actually making a positive difference in the world, because they haven't had the well-rounded education that comes from the humanities of learning things like well, not just the humanities, other disciplines. So get smart, get wise. Wisdom only comes from mistakes, and so be kind. You can always be kind, and be kind to yourself too, and be kind to those around you. Look at this. I think we can change FizzBuzz to a struct. There we go. Alrighty, folks. I think that is a wrap for object-oriented FizzBuzz. What do you think? Kind of interesting how it looks very different but is now very flexible. Yeah, keep pursuing your real goal. Phase on top, maybe learn some code, but learn the other stuff as well. Thanks everyone for joining. Check out the conditional rule. I still love the micro objects that come out of this. Hats off to Quinn Gill. And I think that will do it for this time. Anything else I want to add? Oh, for folks who are watching, who are not here presently involved in the chat is always the best. But if you're watching after the fact, and you've watched this far, hey, you must have seen something that you liked. Otherwise, you wouldn't have lasted this long. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, a follow, hit the bell, whatever it takes, and train the computers, the algorithms in your favor. All right, that is a wrap for this time. Thanks for joining. I'll think I'm around next week. I'm pretty sure I'm around next week, so I hope to see you then. Take care.